Hey guys, it's Mitch. How's it going? We're looking at something different today. We're looking at a zine by James Edward Clark, author of Piss Apocalypse, as well as the artist on Tales to Enlighten, and the author of Evil Comics, which is a Kickstarter that's going on right now. So if you recall, I did talk about Piss Apocalypse, I think about a year ago now. Pretty good post-apocalyptic story with some very cool artwork by, like I said, James Edward Clark. Has an extremely singular style that I don't think I've seen anything close to before, really. And yeah, as I said, he's got a Kickstarter going on right now for Evil Comics. And part of that Kickstarter is some zines that he's put together. He's got like 4 zines that he's including as a particular pledge tier. And this is the first time I've even seen a zine, actually, in person. Honestly, the size kind of threw me off, but it makes some sense. These are handmade, right? So I took a look through this earlier, and I was just, checking it out, trying to get a sense of the story. And I'm like, wow, that looks confusing. And then I opened it up properly to read it tonight and saw, based on a short story by Philip K. Dick, it's like, yes, that explains it. Okay. So this is an adaptation of The Electric Ant, which is a short story by Philip K. Dick, and seems to have similar themes to other Philip K. Dick stories, such as identity and the nature of reality. So yes, if you recall my review of Piss Apocalypse, the style will look familiar. This is James Edward Clark's style that is very clean, very polished, and of course has this crazy style with all the ticks for texture on everything, which works nice. Like it all hangs together as a very complete style. I think I said that before too. Anyway, this guy wakes up in the hospital and he's missing a hand. And on further inspection, the doctors find out that he's not actually a man, he's an electric ant. And what that means is an organic robot. So maybe a little bit like a replicant, maybe not. And naturally, our Mr. Poole has difficulty struggling with his identity and trying to figure out what is real. And you get slight little jabs of what feel like fourth wall breaking commentary, where he's getting his hand reattached at the repair facility, and the tech here is like, "You've been posing?" He's like, "Unintentionally." And then he makes, the fist facing the camera. He's like, "Now it's intentional?" Exactly. And this is, I believe, his co-CEO at the company where he was working. He was also CEO, who looks a fair bit like Doug Ford. I'm not sure if that's intentional. If I recall correctly, James Edward Clark is from Toronto. But there's some great looking stuff in here. It's of the same level of quality as was in Piss Apocalypse. And from what I've seen, is in Evil Comics. So I feel like James Edward Clark only has one gear, which is, once it looks like a James Edward Clark drawing, then it's complete. But yeah, our guy here discovers that he's got a tape in a hidden panel in his chest. Naturally, it's a tape because Philip K. Dick was writing mostly through the 50s through the 70s. So that's the height of technology at the time. And he starts fucking around with the tape, which is not exactly advised. He actually knocks himself out and is brought back by the repairman. There's a lot of this 4-panel grid kind of layout to everything, which is interesting because it means you have to really think about how your story has to progress. If you're just laying out freehand, then, it's a lot easier to just tailor a page to whatever you need. But when you're sticking to a particular layout style, you can, you see how, he'll stretch it, a single panel over 2 of the normal grid spots, or he'll split a normal grid spot into 2 here. But generally, there's that window pane kind of layout to things, which can be limiting, but if you do choose to go that way, it can give your book a pretty unified look. And yeah, he eventually fucks with the tape a bit too much, enough to find out that his voluptuous girlfriend isn't real. One of those standard issue, great-looking voluptuous girlfriends that James Edward Clark draws. I believe another pledge here actually includes his 30 Nudes book, just as an offhand observation. And so yeah, that's like 20 pages actually. Small pages because it's a little handmade zine. But it's pretty fun and it looks great. And like I said, that tier does give you 4 of these. So that ain't bad at all. So if you're not as into the abstract, metaphorical type of storytelling, the comic that he's kickstarting, which is Evil Comics, I may have said that once or twice before, seems to be a bit more straightforward, where it's about Sammy Destino, who's on an adventure to save his lady love, Maria, from the diabolical Space Thunder Death Cult, from sacrificing her to demons at midnight and opening a portal to hell upon the earth. So yeah, that looks like it's 160 pages. It's already finished, ready to go, and appears as usual with James Edward Clark to have plenty of nudity and violence. As a fan of how James Edward Clark draws nudity and violence, I can say that's a selling point. So yeah, I'd recommend you go check out that Kickstarter. I'll put a link in the description here. If you feel like shelling out a bit extra, maybe go for the pledge tier that has the zines on it. This one looks pretty good, and now I'm kind of curious to see what the other ones look like. Anyway, that's going to do it. My links are in the description, of course, but the link you want to focus on most is the one to James Edward Clark's Kickstarter. All right, thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.